In Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, along Route 61, sits the town of Ashland, a historic mining town in the anthracite coal region. Here in this small community, you can still tour the Pioneer Tunnel and learn about how this valuable resource is taken from the earth to provide fuel for the use of man. Just a stone's throw away from Ashland, in Columbia County, you'll find the ruins of a town that was much like Ashland, a place where signs of life are few, but the scars left on the land tell a story. The history of an American town, once maybe like your own town, with people no different from your own, the people of Centralia. Founded in 1866, the borough of Centralia was once a thriving community, a coal mining town of over 2,000 residents. There were public and private schools, 7 churches, 5 hotels, 27 saloons, 2 theaters, 14 stores. Far from an uncivilized place, Centralia was home to several ethnic groups who coexisted and took great pride in their town. Community transcended difference, as evidenced by this gate at the Orthodox graveyard, a gift from the youth at the Roman Catholic parish, St. Ignatius. Like many towns in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Centralia, its people and its coal mines gave invaluable contributions to the economy in Pennsylvania and throughout the U.S. But since 1962, this source of wealth has turned into a force of devastation for those who have lived above the coal seam. Underground, this anthracite coal has been burning for 48 years, and the fire has become practically unstoppable. There is no official record of how the coal fire began, but traditionally, it is said to have started in May of 1962 when a trash fire burned out of control. It was standard practice to burn the town's waste on the outskirts of Centralia, in abandoned strip mines. But in this case, an exposed vein of coal caught on fire, and the initial attempts to extinguish it were ineffective. Within the first couple of weeks, this fire could have been contained with some extra effort. But too much time passed. The fire continued spreading throughout the coal seam, and before everyone knew it, this small town in eastern Pennsylvania had a natural disaster just beneath its surface. Over the 2 decades following ignition, workers fought the fire by flushing the mines with fly ash and water, by digging trenches, by drilling and hoping to find the boundaries of the fire in order to contain it. But their efforts proved futile, and by the early 1980s, people began abandoning their homes, and the fire had devastated about 200 acres. Carbon monoxide levels were life-threatening enough to scare some residents away. Others, however, sharing detectors with their neighbors, found the measurements unconvincing, and many people continued living above the fire. For a relatively small community whose existence is owed to the coal industry, the refusal to pack up and move at the first sight of trouble is somewhat understandable. Many residents suspected a plot by the federal or state government to frighten away the residents in order to take over the rights to the wealth of coal beneath them. Finally, in 1992, 30 years after ignition, Pennsylvania Governor Bob Casey declared eminent domain in the borough of Centralia. Over the years, the federal government helped relocate residents whose houses were condemned, but several people refused to leave their beloved hometown. They still had a mayor, Lamar Mervine, elected in 1993. They still had town meetings and church services, an ambulance and a fire engine. Fewer and fewer people remained each year, but the people of Centralia held on to the hope that their town would recover. Their zip code was revoked in 2002, And now Governor Ed Rendell is finally doing all he can to evacuate the last few remaining residents from the town that no longer exists. A protest against the evictions, this sign is perhaps the final cry against the actions Pennsylvania has taken to remove the town from the map. While in Centralia, I measured carbon dioxide levels, which in some places were at life-threatening levels. I felt the intense heat coming from vents in the ground. I saw rocks turned red, large patches of land where the devastation from the fire is all too evident. The Department of Environmental Protection monitors these boreholes just inches below the surface, and measurements of up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit have been found in some places. Without a doubt, the dangers in the air and under the ground justify a forced evacuation of the town, although I sympathize with the elderly residents who wish to live out their days in the only home they've ever known. One of these, now Mayor Carl Womer, lives with his daughter Kathy in one of the few houses still standing in Centralia. This section of the town happens to be one of the most dangerous. But while the forced evacuations are best for the people of the vanishing borough, I wonder what will be done for Ashland and for everyone else who will be affected by the spread of this fire. Some estimates say that the fire will continue for another century, destroying thousands of acres around Centralia. Can we leave this problem for future generations to deal with? Can we ignore the carbon emitted into the atmosphere every day, the deadly gases rising to the surface, the ground prone to sudden collapse? Walking around Centralia, seeing the ruins of homes and buildings, witnessing nature reclaiming a once-developed landscape was a bittersweet experience. The small Pennsylvania town, or what's left of it, stands as an example of what happens to our planet when we act irresponsibly. But it also still shows signs of humanity, of a community that transcended nationality, that served its nation with bravery. In the foreseeable future, Centralia may never be suitable for human inhabitants, but there is a brief chapter in history here, and the remains of many a soul who rests here for as long as the earth allows. Their memory, and the story their town shares with America, is something that no one can erase.